They got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems. I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something. That's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection. I summon and dummy.
Sleepy Cuppy.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Another day working on the Mustang. We're trying to make it faster and lighter. So as you guys saw on the previous video, I did get the manual steering rack done. Everything's good to go. Just waiting on some jam nuts to get the tie rod ends on. And then I need to play with the linkage a little bit just to make it a little bit smoother. And then we still need to wire in the little paddle so that I have a clutch for the car to start. But everything's pretty much as far as it can get for now until some of the parts come in. So I'm turning all my focus onto the boost controller. So last night I pulled all the vacuum lines off of the wastegates. So you can see the other wastegates down there. There's no vacuum lines on them. I need to pull the wastegates off, and that's what I'm about to do, and switch the springs in them. Right now I think we have about 8 pounds to 9 pounds worth of springs in there. With running CO2, you want to run the smallest springs possible. And I think the smallest I have is like a 4-pound spring. I'll have to check in the back. But essentially, we need to get the wastegates off, put the smallest springs in them because you want the CO2 to do all the work. And then we'll get those back installed. We're going to take these fittings off and install the new fittings from MOTIONRACEWORKS so that we can run CO2. This fitting, don't worry, it wasn't hand tight. I already loosened this. But this fitting on top is now going to house the dome pressure sensor. And then on the side over here, we're gonna have CO2 in. And then on the other side, this is the good thing about these wastegates have a ton of ports, is we'll run the vacuum reference off the turbo. So we'll have to bring this wastegate, pretty much how I had it before. We'll have to bring that wastegate over here, throw some T's in it, tee the lines, and then essentially, it's not that much work. Really, probably the longest thing that it'll take is taking the wastegates off and switching the springs out, because that other wastegate is a pain in the ass to get to. It's literally, because it's angled and it has a V-band, it's super hard to get it perfectly flush to tighten a V-band on it, but probably try and get that from the bottom. Now that the steering rack isn't in the way, there's tons of room to work from the bottom. So we'll get working on that. I already ran the wires for the dome pressure sensor all the way inside. So we've already got those 3 wires. I just need to strip them and crimp them and then put them on the boost controller. So I'll have 3 lines from the dome pressure sensor. I'll have the scramble, power, ground, dome pressure sensor, and then 4 more wires from the dual solenoids. And that's the last thing I'll have to wire in. So pretty much everything's in there already, just has to be wired to the controller. Just need to run 4 more wires for the dual solenoid. Hook up all the vacuum lines, put the CO2 bottle in, get the CO2 filled, and the boost controller will be done. It's not too much work. Got another package in today. I'm gonna show you guys it. I've been waiting on these for a while, but BMR was getting them powder coated. So these are the rear upper control arms. So now we can finally get the rear set to 0 camber. So I'll probably install these in another video, but if you guys need anything from BMR suspension, please use my discount code VANV39, VANV39. So I probably need to switch the discount code because that's not my Instagram name anymore, but use that discount code if you guys want to get some stuff from BMR. I run their full catalog. I have BMR drag springs all the way around. I'll have the upper control arms, got vertical links. I probably need to do some lower arms, but probably my favorite thing is the cradle lockout that really stops wheel hop. I highly recommend those. And then I got Viking shocks in the rear, but I pretty much have the full BMR catalog, and it's definitely helped this car get out of the 60 foot like it does. But let's get taking the wastegates off. So guys, we got the first wastegate off. Like I said, you want to run the smallest spring. So this green one is the smallest one. So we're gonna throw a green spring in this wastegate, throw it in the other one, and then we're gonna start running some lines for some CO2. All right, so we got the little push lock fitting on this front side. So this is a top port, so you wanna make sure you use a top port. This will be the CO2 pressure, and then we're gonna put the dome pressure sensor, I don't know where I put it, but that one will go up top. And then for the boost reference, we're gonna use one of the side ports here. So I got my green spring in there. We're gonna get that on there. These are always such a pain to do, but luckily with these small springs, this should go on pretty easily. If you guys have ever like stacked springs, you know how hard these are to push down and put bolts in at the same time. So we're gonna get that one done. we'll put the rest of the fittings on this one, and then we'll start working on the other wastegate. Once that one's done, then we'll actually run the lines. Okay, second wastegate is out. Same thing, we're gonna change the fittings, and we're gonna put the smaller green spring in this one. All right, so second wastegate's done. Got the CO2 part, and then the bottom one's gonna be reference for boost. So we're gonna go ahead and get this one back on. This is the one that's a pain to get back on, but we're gonna get this wastegate back on, and then we can actually start routing our vacuum lines. All right, all the work I did to swap over to the manual rack was just now worth it because I've never put that bottom wastegate on that fast. So it literally took me like 30 seconds because the huge power steering, electric steering rack is not in the way anymore, that big computer up front. So there's tons of room to reach from the bottom to actually get the wastegate. So it was all worth it just by doing that. So now I've got both wastegates back on with the correct small springs in them. Okay, so that wastegate's down there. I've got the correct fittings on them. Now what I need to do is wire this dome sensor to this cable, these 3 wires that are gonna go back into the car, and I can start running the vacuum lines, pretty much tee the top ones for CO2, and then we're gonna run one from the bottom of the wastegate. It's gonna meet up with the other wastegate, and then those are gonna go to the turbo for the reference, and then I'm gonna leave the blow-off valve, obviously, getting it sourced from the manifold, but I need to make sure I didn't tee into that somewhere and that there's an open line. So that's the only one I haven't played with yet. But anyways, we're really close. This isn't gonna take too much longer. Like I said, the thing that's probably gonna take the longest now is just getting all the wires in the car and wiring that up. And then, so next we still have to do the solenoid. But yeah, when I get back from work, we're gonna start running some vacuum lines. All right guys, so I pretty much got everything wired up and all the lines ran. Like I said, I did run out of vacuum line, but I've got the dual boost solenoid right here. Vacuum line's going to it. I just need a little bit more vacuum line to get the solenoid to the CO2 canister, which I got that ordered. Anyways, got the wires ran from the solenoid into the car. Got everything in the car. I had to label some of these with tape because there's a lot of the same colors, but everything has heat shrink and some little crimpers on them. And so pretty much I'm gonna heat up the heat shrink, get those all done, put some tape around these wires, clean them up a little bit, and then we're gonna run them through the little carbon fiber piece and then start attaching them to the boost controller. Man, I'm glad that's over with. That took a little bit longer than I thought, but we do have the boost controller in, everything's wired up. It kind of looks ghetto because they have the wires coming in like that, but so what I'll probably do is recess the controller, remake this whole carbon fiber panel, then just recess the controller so these wires are covered up. But that's gonna work for now. Everything's wired in to the controller. Like I said, I'm just waiting on a little bit more of the vacuum line so I can run one last line from the dual boost solenoid into the CO2 tank, which will be inside the car. I don't have a roll cage yet, it is coming, but for now we'll have to find somewhere to mount the CO2 tank. It does come with a roll bar mount, but I don't have a roll cage yet, so we'll just have to mount that somewhere that's easily accessible and just make sure we turn it on every time or else we won't have boost. So the controller's good to go, everything's installed. Just got to install that one last vacuum line. We've got the dome pressure sensor up here wired into the controller. We've got some nice hard vacuum lines. Everything is good to go, push lock fittings. And last thing we need to do is wire in the little paddle that we had on the stock steering wheel. We need to wire that in so we can actually start the car. Other than that, a couple little small odds and ends, just cleaning it up, putting the car back together, and we'll be ready to test again soon. So hopefully, not this weekend because this week is Thanksgiving, but hopefully next weekend or maybe the weekend after we can get out and get some testing in. Like I said, we'll probably do like just some 60-foot or 1/8 mile testing so that we can make sure the car's ready to go. And we still got to do upper control arms. I still have the little spacers that go in between the coils, and I think I'm going to add those just to give me a little bit more room in between the tire and fender. The car hasn't rubbed yet, but I do have these things, so I might as well throw them on there. So a couple other small odds and ends to do, and the car will be ready to go for some testing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Like I said, the tank tank is one step closer to getting back out on the track. We've got a few more things we need to install and a couple more videos to do before we get back to the track. But we'll be back at the track testing soon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys are gonna come out. I know it's a long ways away, but I kinda wanna just reiterate, February 29th, Flashlight Shootout, Extreme Raceway Park, Dallas, Texas. Well, it's technically like Ferris, Texas, I think. But near Dallas, Texas, February 29th. Y'all better come out. We'll see you guys there, and I'll see you guys on the next video.